Hi everyone, I'm LP, your host for Pop Culture Science. The question of the day is, what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? Well, that's a good question. Let's find out. To most of us, a dinosaur is simply a big creature that lived a long time ago and ate things, like a triceratops eating plants, or a T-Rex eating them. But what really makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? Well, paleontologists have a certain way of describing these things. Because all we really have of the dinosaurs is bones, they use the features of these bones to tell us not only if something was a dinosaur, but what type of dinosaur it was. In this episode, we'll look at some of the things that paleontologists use to nail down the identity of some unknown critter and to tell us if it was a dinosaur or not. To do that, we're going to look at 6 features of the bones that you can see in a museum when you go check them out yourself. Today, we're here at the Arizona Museum of Natural History in Mesa, and they have plenty of dinosaurs to help us figure this stuff out. Don't worry, we'll stick to the easy stuff. Things you can easily see and point out to yourself or a friend when you go to your local museum. Okay, so as I said earlier, it's the features on the bones, called synapomorphies, that paleontologists use to differentiate one animal from another in the fossil record. The terminology isn't terribly important here, though. I mean, face it, most scientific disciplines have a great many specialized words that they use to communicate precisely. We're going to learn a few, but we're also going to work to make it as simple as possible for you. Paleontologists use a method called cladistics to compare and contrast these features. This is called a cladogram. It is a visual way to show the different speciation events over the course of time and how they create not only new species, but entirely new groups or clades of creatures. This is a simple cladogram made just to show you how the whole thing works. See that below the split the arrow's pointing at? The features show that the species are not considered dinosaurs. And above it, the features show that the species are considered to be dinosaurs. We're going to look at some of these features used to determine if something is a dinosaur. And we're going to look at only the ones that you should be able to pretty easily see in a museum dinosaur. Now here's the thing. We are always trying to create order in the world around us. These cladograms, they're just models used to try and impose order on a very messy natural world. The fossil record is like a 1,000-page novel with 900 pages completely blank, and the other 100 pages only have maybe 5 words and a few letters scattered about. That's all we have. The fact that we have been able to piece together a coherent picture of ancient life from the limited data available in the fossil record is absolutely amazing. And it is a testament to the greatest detectives in history, paleontologists. What you need to understand is this. Some of the features found in dinosaurs are also found in other animals as well, like mammals sometimes. It's only by looking at a comprehensive list of features that we can begin to nail down the identity of something as a dinosaur or not. So let's see what we have. Let's see what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur. In 1842, a fellow named Richard Owen was the first to apply the term dinosaur to a series of new creatures being brought to his attention at the Royal College of Surgeons in London. Now, Owen was, at the time, at the top of his game, acknowledged across the British Empire as the finest comparative anatomist of the age. The main feature he saw in these new animals was that they were very reptile-like. However, they also had some very unusual features for a reptile. For one, they were huge. And second, they had some very unusual features in the pelvis, which was built more like a mammal. Advanced animals have a pelvis that is based on fused vertebrae. These fused vertebrae form one solid bone called a sacrum. Unlike more primitive reptiles that had at most one or two vertebrae in the pelvis, these new creatures that Dr. Owen was looking at had 5 vertebrae forming the sacrum, all fused up. In other words, he was seeing an animal never described before that had both the advanced features of mammals as well as the primitive features of reptiles. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, let me show you over here. This is a juvenile Bactrosaurus. Beside it, standing an adult one. These are actually descendants of some of the earliest dinosaurs that Dr. Owen was dealing with, called iguanodon. This juvenile one is small enough to show you many of the features that we want to talk about pretty easily. The pelvis in dinosaurs is a diagnostic tool. It's a very important one. And it is indicative of the fact that dinosaurs were more advanced than the animals that they evolved from. Reptiles sprawl. Dinosaurs stand upright. So our first features are found in the pelvis. The pelvis of a dinosaur consisted of the sacrum and a set of bones paired on either side of the backbone as well. The ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. Now, these 3 bones join up together and each have a section of a circle built into them. So where they join up, they form a circular hole. The dinosaur pelvis contains at least 3 of these sacral vertebrae. And later, as they evolved more diverse forms, 4 or 5 or more, like Bactrosaurus here. Now, dinosaurs aren't the only animals that have this. Mammals do as well. This is feature number 1, and it is part of Sir Richard Owen's original definition of the dinosaurs. Feature 2 is also on the pelvis, and it is completely unique to dinosaurs. As we saw a moment ago, the socket where the head of the femur fits into the pelvis is a circular hole. This hole is called the acetabulum. This is the acetabulum in an adult Bactrosaurus. In dinosaurs, it is either a hole completely through or only partially filled in with bone, whereas in mammals, it is more completely infilled with bone to form a depression or a socket. This feature, the hole, is called a perforate acetabulum. It is our second feature, and it is unique to dinosaurs. Features 3 and 4 are also hip-related, but have more to do with the femur itself, this big upper leg bone here. As you've seen, early dinosaurs all stood upright, which means that the femur had to rotate from sticking out sideways, like a more primitive reptile, to being located more vertically and astride the body. This move provided more support for an upright, off-the-ground stance, and early dinosaurs, such as Herrerasaurus, were completely bipedal, walking on 2 legs, which freed up their arms for other tasks like grasping food, either plant or animal. As we mentioned before, standing upright requires that the end of the now vertical femur must fit into a socket that points sideways. So, on the way to standing upright, dinosaurs evolved something that mammals eventually did as well, while they were on their way to an upright stance: a lateral head on the femur. This modified head points sideways, allowing both an upright stance and a solid fit into the acetabulum. You can check this out for yourself at your local museum. This is one of those features that distinguish dinosaurs from less advanced reptiles and not from mammals. So, feature 3 is a lateral head on the femur. Feature 4
is also on the femur. And I picked it because it's usually pretty easy to pick out when you're looking at a museum dinosaur. It has to do with bumps and ridges. You see, bones are obviously where muscles attach on the animal when it was alive. And the size of these ridges and scars are indicative of how much power the animal was able to bring to bear in a movement. Our fourth feature is one of these ridges, and it's called the fourth trochanter. It's located here on the back of the femur. Many of the ancestors of dinosaurs have these as well, but they weren't nearly as big or long as they are in the dinosaurs. The ridge was the attachment point for a big muscle called the caudofemoralis that drew the leg back while walking, giving the dinosaurs a powerful ability to walk not only upright, but support and move efficiently with forms that were growing ever larger as time went on. So our fourth feature is a long ridge of bone on the back of the femur called the fourth trochanter. And its size as dinosaurs is what makes it unique to them. Feature 5 is not usually an easy one to see in a museum dinosaur, but it is important because only dinosaurs have them. It has to do with the ankle bones. This is Suski tyrannus, a meat eater, and over here is another one we'll get to in a second, Zuniceratops. Both are native Arizona dinosaurs and lived around 30 million years before T-Rex and Triceratops, to whom they are distantly related. The ankle of a dinosaur, unlike ours, was specialized in that it was hinged to move in only one direction, just like your knee. The main bone in the dinosaur ankle is called the astragalus, and it forms a primary part of this hinge structure. Through the process of evolution, it began to incorporate a flange that extended up along the primary lower leg bone, called the tibia. This flange is more properly called an ascending process, and as the dinosaur grew up, it fused to the tibia until in older adults it was completely fused. And in many cases, it is very difficult to see in a museum dinosaur. Some dinosaurs, like Triceratops and its relatives, like Zuni over here, pretty much lost it entirely. So when you look for it, look at Tyrannosaurus and its cousins that stood on two legs. The ascending process is easier to see on them. It appears that this fusion occurred purely to stabilize the ankle joint, to allow for more efficient running. But that is not absolutely certain. So, feature 5 is an ascending process on the astragalus, and it is unique to dinosaurs. Feature 6 is a long ridge of bone on the outside of the upper forearm, and it is found on all the dinosaurs. The upper arm bone is called the humerus, and this ridge, which in dinosaurs extends at least 1/3 of the way down the shaft of the humerus, is called the deltopectoral crest. This big long ridge on the humerus was an attachment point for muscles that helped early dinosaurs grasp things, like food, and it was one of the things that gave them a tremendous advantage over their competition. Dinosaurs did start out bipedal, walking on two legs, with an upright stance. And it was only later, as they began to diversify and some reached astounding sizes, that some started to walk on all fours again. But they still all have that big crest on the humerus. Even the last dinosaurs, like Triceratops, had a big deltopectoral crest. So it is a solid way to identify something as a dinosaur. Our last feature then, feature 6, is an extended ridge on the humerus called the deltopectoral crest. And while it is not completely unique to dinosaurs, the size and length is.
So, there are many other features that are used to define a dinosaur, but those involve learning a bunch of tiny bones of the skull and muscle attachment points, and man, that stuff wore me out in college. I'm trying to keep this as light as possible. For now, you know there are definitely some small, easy to see things that you can see yourself in a museum that make a dinosaur a dinosaur. I'm LP. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Please like and subscribe.